It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Couple of things here. Next week, the debate. Will we find out who Mr. Peters is?
My name is Robert L. Peters.
Which James Comer investigating the Biden enterprise. That name came up yesterday as a name that Comer and the House Judiciary Committee believes that Biden used, a pseudonym that he used in order to communicate with Hunter Biden and maybe other members of Hunter Biden's business circles. So, and the reason why, because that would not be tagged as having to be saved for the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
Ooh. So we'll see where that comes through. A couple of other stories. Los Angeles, in the wake of multiple flash mob robberies at high-end stores in the Los Angeles areas in recent weeks, Mayor Karen Bass and local law enforcement yesterday announced a regional task force aimed at stopping and holding the retail thieves accountable.
Wow.
No one should feel like it's not safe to go shopping in Los Angeles. No entrepreneur should feel like it's not safe to open up a business in Los Angeles, the mayor said, noting that retail theft is not a victimless crime. Oh, my God.
Wait a minute. What? Breaking news here at Red Eye Radio. Are they trying to say there are real victims in this equation?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I've never considered that. Wow. Yeah. You know, by the way, you know who's falling out of favor? What's interesting is some of these Democrats in these local areas that are going against the grain and pushing back on some certain things, I've noticed they're getting pushed back from other Democrats. So if you say, well, we've got to stop the violence, then all of a sudden other Democrats are saying, well, they don't know what they're talking about. Or if you're the mayor of New York City and you say we've got to do something about the border crisis, then the governor goes at you for not handling it properly. I mean, and I said this to a friend recently. What do you think is going to happen in New York City? Someone asked me, and I said, I don't know. I think his time as a mayor is limited. I don't think the party's going to let him get away with being this vocal. You know, he's going to have to approach it a different way if he wants to get away with that as a Democrat. And the next day, Hochul comes out and criticizes him. But you look at these local leaders that are now saying that look at the rise in crime in their areas. D.C., another example. We've got to do something about this. Well, you created it.
So after saying all this stuff, after saying all this stuff, as I said, in which we had to laugh, we need to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
Well, then you shouldn't have you shouldn't have the thing where if you steal up to a certain amount, we're not going to arrest you.
Right. You have to
That's
change.
encouraging it to do it.
Yeah, legally you have to go through and change the ordinances and laws.
You can't have zero cash bail policy.
Right.
You can't do things like that. Now, regarding, listen to this now. I'm reading it. You need to pay attention to this.
All right.
Regarding the city's zero cash bail policy, officials said that the individuals will be held in jail if charged with retail theft, though if they are charged with grand theft, there is a chance they will be released on bail. I'll read it again because I thought the same thing. You're like, Gary, you read that wrong. Regarding the city's zero cash bail policy, officials said the individuals will be held in jail if they are charged with retail theft, but if they are charged with grand theft, which means you've stolen a lot more than just retail theft, there is a chance you could be released on bail. So still in Los Angeles, it seems that if you steal more, you will be released on bail than if you just steal a little. Or you'll be released without bail.
Are they, yeah. Well, then are they secretly promoting that they need to go out and make sure you steal more?
They're just all over the place on this.
Because
there's just
if you don't go in and change the fundamentals of the ordinances and the laws, if you don't change those, you have to do that to begin with. We said to Mayor Adams, you want to change sanctuary city policy, you can do that. Republicans don't control the city council.
No.
You're not a Republican.
No.
Go ahead and do it. You don't have to go to a judge. Help us. Protect us from ourselves. I mean, where do you go with that? Here's my question. Where do you go at election time? Man, I really want to see some of the local campaigns for mayor and, I mean, we've seen the insane prosecutors. We kind of know how their mind works. But can they get away with it anymore? I mean, you saw the recall in California of one prosecutor. You see the backlash, and it makes you wonder, all right, what are they going to campaign on? Not that I expect that Republicans are going to come in and win in these areas. No, that's not at all what I expect. But I do wonder, how do you campaign if you're going to run for re-election and there's been pushback toward you, whether you're a mayor or a prosecutor or whatever? Then what do you campaign on? I know the community. You just do the blah, blah, blah campaign?
Yeah.
It's the only thing you can do. And what does your opponent do? I mean, the other Democrat.
Well, unless they just get blunt, and that's what the Democrats want. You think your city's screwed up now? You make me mayor, I'm going to screw this city up. You won't reckon. You think it looks bad now? This will be the most believable dystopian nightmare. Hey, have you ever seen the movie She Lives? It's going to be like L.A. in that movie. Mm-hmm. Everything. I promise you the entire city of Los Angeles will be homeless camps. Nobody will have a job. You'll all be unemployed. We can't help you at all. That Democratic candidate just took 98% of the vote in the last election.
Yes. We're also going to outlaw droughts.
Okay. No, you're right. Just go the opposite way.
Yeah.
Make promises. You just bizarre
they're
promises.
Just insane.
Right.
Just go full on insane.
We're gonna provide every family with $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Reparations should be $10 million, not $5 million. We'll stop droughts, locusts. All crime will end. We will get rid of police because there will be no crime. There will only be one restaurant, Taco Bell.
Exactly. And if you're in an accident, your car will instantly fill with foam.
Anybody get the reference here to Demolition Man, the movie?
He finally matched his meat. That's really where her comedy career began, I think.
Oh, she was great in that movie.
Oh my gosh, she was great.
I didn't know she had it. She was great. But I liked it when she was talking to Stallone about the fact that Schwarzenegger was president.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, listen to me there. Why is he not in the movie there? The Sandra Bullock, who we're referring to in a great movie, but it's. If you're going to promise something, you might as well just promise the insane, because otherwise, really, the campaigns have to go back to the blah, blah, blah. And that is, listen, I've lived in this community. My family and I have lived here for a long, long time. We know this community. We love this community. We're going to do what's best for this community. Well, you know what? You do what the no labels and the forward party are doing.
No, seriously, though, next year, let's just, because we cover politics on a national level.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about it. We'll just pay attention to some
I'm going to have to.
Local primary, like in California.
Yeah.
See if there's, two Democrats running against each other and find out in the debates or find out what their positions are or how they're attacking the other candidate in order to get that win. That, to me, would be the most fascinating thing.
Sure.
Either you promise what you can't keep, you tell them you're just going to take the city to complete hell, or you just promote pure communism and see if they buy it.
Right.
Because that's where the Democratic Party is. I don't think this is over the top hyperbole at all.
No.
I think because they're so incredibly, when you look at everything from the saying the border is secure, and you see the sanctuary cities, and that Adams this week was going crazy about it, and he's being attacked by conservatives saying you need to shut up. You wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
You begged for this.
Right.
You created legislation. You promoted that you're a sanctuary city. And
Hochul comes after him.
Right.
You've mishandled the whole thing.
Right.
He can't win. And I knew it. I felt it in my bones. I thought, he's really not building any hopes of a re-election down the road if he wants to run again for mayor.
You know what I would do if I'm a Democrat and truly against it, and I'm the mayor of New York City? I'd say, I'm against this. I want to change it. I don't believe we should be a sanctuary city. But it's what the people, because you're protesting me. This is what you voted for.
Mm-hmm.
You voted city councils that made this a sanctuary city and invited everybody in.
Yep.
And now you're crying because you've got to pay for it.
Right.
Well, if you're going to live in a delusional world, if you're going to be a Democrat and take a stand right now to moderate more, isn't that kind of thing you should be doing?
Oh, yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
If you don't do it, you actually don't want to moderate. You don't want to be a moderate, as Adams ran as.
Yeah, right. Well, because that's it. Look, he did it. He did some things not in campaign mode, but he did some things to kind of signal it, like what we were talking about or referencing earlier, and that's going to a judge saying, you need to help us out on the sanctuary city policy because we can't live by it anymore.
Let's go to Sean in College Station about the debate next week, the Republican debate. Sean, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
You're welcome.
I was calling you was talking earlier about a little bit of fight in the Republican field.
Yes.
And, I don't see why they don't hang a lot of stuff around Trump's neck and go after him. They'll go all in. Don't just let him win the nomination without a fight. Because, I think you could hang on him that, he's the reason we got Joe Biden right now. And, you can hang on him how he handled COVID, how we shut down everything and, really go after him and attack him. I feel like he's the Republican Party's Hillary Clinton, really popular on the Republican side, but not electable. My opinion is he's the only one Joe Biden could beat.
Well, you know something, when you bring up COVID, it was interesting because and thanks so much for your call,
Thanks, Sean.
When he went after DeSantis and said, for example, that New York handled it better, that was such, New York handled COVID better than Florida.
Yeah.
Trump said that was such a bizarre statement. You didn't see any of the people that support him get angry at that at all and say,
no.
and sit there and go, come on, now that's ridiculous.
Right.
Now DeSantis hit back at him, and we'd said at the time, he's got to be careful because DeSantis got a ton of ammunition. What are you talking about? You're the one that led. Fair or not, as we've said, doesn't matter whether it's fair because you can make the argument that early on nobody knew where it was going to go. Nobody knew. But if you're going to use and attack DeSantis, where majority of Republicans think DeSantis did a great job, DeSantis is going to come back and hit you. And when he hit him back, it didn't eat into his numbers at all.
No. Look, I
don't think there's any Republican out there that would sit there and say, even a Trump supporter that would say, well, Trump did a great job on COVID because the one thing that Trump promoted that he did great was the vaccine.
And now nobody wants to hear a word about the vaccines.
Right. And so Trump is known for getting the vaccine to market as soon as possible, which is now a criticism.
Yeah, they rushed it.
And he is the one that let Fauci go and let Fauci do whatever. It's just, it didn't affect his numbers at all. His supporters, they may know that. That's not going to change their vote towards him.
Yeah, there's going to be attacks. The question is how much of it is going to be effective.
Yeah. The attacks are going to come.
Mm-hmm.
The effectiveness, as you just said, is key.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
Slight changes down are reported for most milk production categories in both forecast years, according to USDA's latest outlook and World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jekanowski.
We lowered our milk production forecast this month by 400 million pounds for 2023. That reflects lower cow numbers and lower milk per cow, in part due to heat stress, reducing productivity. And then into 2024, we also reduced our milk production forecast there by 100 million pounds, reflecting lower cow numbers.
Meanwhile, prices are up in all categories of milk product and class, except for dry whey, which is down both years.
The all milk price for 2023 currently have it at $19.95 per hundredweight. That's up 40 cents per hundredweight this month from where we were in July. And for 2024, we're forecasting $19.35 per hundredweight. That's down 60 cents year over year.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report is made possible by Cenex Roadmaster XL Premium Diesel and Citgo Lubricants.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Look, I think most Republicans understand that Trump is extremely vulnerable in this election. They know, even the most loyal Trump supporters that I've met. I told the story in the air a couple of weeks ago. This is when I was back in New York. It was end of July, and met a guy who had a Trump shirt on. Mm-hmm. And we got into discussion, most loyal. You could tell. I mean, he had a Trump shirt on, was talking Trump this, Trump that. And I said, he's got his weaknesses. He's got bad vulnerabilities. I went through point by point by point by point. At the end, he goes, "Yeah, I know. You're not wrong on that. You're right on that. But
right.
But he's still the guy to beat Biden." Well, I pointed out his vulnerabilities. You didn't disagree with any of them,
right?
And then went into he can't get independence.
Well, that's the point. You're going to need independence.
How does he get independent? How does he convince independence? Because he's not trying to get independence. He's not even attempting to do so.
Well, and that's it. Is that it's one thing to come in. He's not the incumbent, but he's been there before. So it creates this very unique situation in that you have to kind of come in as a new candidate altogether. You have to resell yourself. You can do that. You have the advantage, some advantages that are equal to an incumbent with a track record on the economy and things we've talked about. But the problem is you're going to have to reintroduce yourself. There's going to have to be the handshake all over again with people in the middle. And on the issues, this is where, the primary season's always been, look, you want to get to your core during the primary season, and then you broaden out after the primary season. But that's on the issues. The approach has to be right now that you're trying to appeal to everyone because you want them motivated all along. I don't know that you can apply the historic approaches of the past.
Well, you're going to have to. You're going to have to pound on Trump because the only hump,
if you're not Trump,
the only hump, the only hope,
well, the only hump in the road,
the only hope is that you keep whittling away and pounding on what you believe his vulnerabilities are, and hope that his core starts going, well, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
And still, that probably won't be enough.
The Bonus Show.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, as you know, when we talk about the primary debate next week, a lot of what we've been talking about, in case you just tuned in, I just realized we might not have said last hour, we were talking about what the candidates should do if Trump isn't there.
Right.
If Trump, isn't there. And we also earlier said if Trump decided to pull out of it. Now, one interesting note that I just saw, when did this story come across from the New York Post here? Okay, I don't know how I missed it. Former President Donald Trump has canceled a press conference scheduled for next week where he would have, where he had previously claimed he would finally unveil evidence of fraud in Georgia during the 2020 presidential election. He called it off on advice of his legal team. Did you and I talk about this? Was he off the air?
No.
Okay, I was talking to somebody about it, and I just went, I think that if I'm his lawyer, I'm telling him, no way. Do not do that. Number one, if you have it, if you actually have it, and I think if he had the irrefutable proof, he would have put it out already. But if he had it, and I'm the lawyer and I know what it is, I would tell him, no, we're saving that for the trial.
Yeah,
I'm not giving. Yeah. I would not give the prosecution any thing at that point. So if he's going to not do that, then that means whatever he thinks he has, if he's in a debate or at a rally, he's not going to promote that. Because is he going to go out to his rallies now and say, I have the irrefutable proof, but I'm not going to tell anybody what it is because of my legal situation?
Yeah, well.
Why would the legal team, if the legal team trusted what he was going to say as accurate, why would they tell him not to do it? I don't. By the way, those questions are not loaded questions to lead you in any direction. They're just questions.
Yeah, because the only tactic would be if you, as his attorney, believed that what he had was good information, is that you save it for the courtroom. In your defense, you don't put it out. You don't expose what your defense is going to be.
Except if the fact that you believe it's so slam dunk that it helps you with the jury pool.
And that's why Trump would want to put it out beforehand.
You want it, you would want to smother it all over the place and never stop talking about how you have it.
Well, I mean, when we say proof, it has to be irrefutable proof. It has to be solid evidence.
Right.
You can't just say this, in my opinion, proves it. It has to be rock solid, airtight.
Because if it's not, then you've just given the prosecution more ammunition to show what your intent has been all along.
Yeah.
To promote something that you can't prove.
Yeah.
Because when I saw this a couple days ago, I went, this is a bad move. I don't see this as being a good move at all. And so that would have been the advice I would have given him. But I don't know what he was going to present. And still, and maybe I'm saying this based on his track record or his previous lawyers' records and what is happening to them right now with lawsuits, I probably would have told him no. Well, I know I would have told him no. And then he would open himself to vulnerability if it was weak, if it wasn't slam dunk for the debate, for Christie to say, see, here he goes again.
Well, and there's the thing. I don't think that his lawyers care much about how it affects him politically as much as they do. I could be wrong.
No, you're right. No, they don't.
As much as they do
legally
about the legal cases against him.
Right.
So it has to be either, because you're right, if it's so slam dunk, then it helps you in the court of public opinion and you build that support, and all of a sudden, how does it not crumble, right? If it were slam dunk evidence, You'd want to put it out there, and the lawyers would have no problem with it.
Because we've talked about the January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And, the fact that the prosecution is still trying to, make the case that it's an insurrection, which they can't make.
Right.
The January 6th Commission couldn't make that stick. They had such a weak case, they didn't want any of their evidence cross-examined. All the evidence will be cross-examined. There's a ton of things that you can bring up about January 6th, and if the judge doesn't allow you to do so, that's the chance for a huge retrial. But again, their goal is to just get a conviction, whether it's legit or not, whether it can be overturned or not, easily overturned or not. They just want the conviction going in because they believe he will lose independence if the Democrats can run ad after ad after ad that says the Republicans have nominated a convicted felon to be president of the United States the first time in history. And they don't believe, and many Republicans don't believe, that even if it's a setup, and what the charges we see, it is.
Yeah.
That he will not be able to get independents to vote for him.
Yeah.
And now, is that the message that's going to be sent out by all the candidates? Christie will attack him.
Well,
but can the other candidates say, this is the problem, he can't wish independence, he's been great for this party, he moved it in the right direction, our fear is he can't, and you repeat that over and over and over and over again, because remember, it's not until January 15th, I believe, is the Iowa caucuses. And so you say we've got 4 months to repeat it over and over again, that you don't insult. This is fascinating, really, when you think about it in political history, because that's how we're looking at this as political consultants, saying, well, how would we be advising each and every one of our candidates?
Well, it's like walking in, to football camp in the NFL, and they just changed all the rules. There's a whole new rule book. The size of the field is different. I mean, it is.
It is, yeah.
And so you look at it with different eyes. And look, every election season is going to be different in its own way. But it seems like we have, in the last couple of or few cycles, we have scorched earth the playbook every time. So there is nothing left behind. So you can't point, historically, there are things you could apply, but do they really apply? What really applies here in 24?
You know, just made me think, because we had talked about Tim Scott earlier and went, okay, I know where he stands, and I'd have no problem if he was the nominee voting for him against any Democrat.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Tim Scott's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's very strong on some issues, but he's not a speaker that projects power and authority, if that makes sense.
I would say
that
there is an exceptional trait of the people who can lead a conversation, and that's why that on the one response that Ramaswamy gave on the liberal transgender movement the other day was so key, because it's as if he were spent a full year writing it and then read it verbatim as it was written. And it came from, and you could hear it. It was passionate, but it wasn't loud. The message itself carried enough volume and weight and reason for it to be a very good, in fact, excellent response or statement. With Senator Scott, it's, he is exceptional in many ways.
No, he's. I'm talking style,
but you have to stand out. Yes, the behavior or what you're saying has to stand out. There could be some things that, as the campaign season goes along, that help to elevate him in that way. But I haven't seen that yet. There are two, aside from Trump, that stand out right now to me, and they're DeSantis and they're Ramaswamy, and both of them still have a lot of work to do.
And they do, but there needs to be, and again, it may not be the Trump intensity, and when Ramaswamy talks a lot of times, it's not what you would view as Trump intensity or even DeSantis intensity, but it is such a, bam, 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 bam,
the
bam,
content
bam,
has
bam,
the intensity itself.
The content has the intensity.
Yes.
And Tim Scott has basically run, and I'm not saying he hasn't had intensity in other, in his Senate races, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, he started out, and it was America's great, America's great, America. It was great when you heard his speech, but it was more of a rally speech and not a down, okay, I need to get elected speech.
Right.
And so it will be interesting to see if he says, okay, here's why you need to vote for me because of this, and this. And you've got to go in. If what's tough for, I think right now for Republicans is everybody sort of believes the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a big difference in the political beliefs of most Republicans. I know that, early on you saw some of the Trump supporters, just bashing DeSantis is this kind of rhino. That's hogwash. DeSantis and Trump on the issues are really pretty close.
Right.
And I think most Republicans know that. But so is now I will say this. All the Republican candidates are really close. The difference is which one will really pound what they believe when they become president.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Who will really focus in and have the passion to really what they say they're going to do, actually do it, which is why DeSantis, for example, and it wasn't Trump's fault, the wall. Trump said he'd build the wall, and he didn't build the wall, but if you say you're going to build it, if you say I'm going to build the wall, you better build the wall, otherwise there's going to be somebody. Now, again, he didn't have Congress behind him to do it. He didn't have Republicans behind him to do that.
Right.
He can't do it himself. You need to explain that when you become president. You need to explain that in the campaign. Here's
As
what
we said all along the way, you need to be saying, listen, folks, I've been wanting to build the wall, but lawmakers in my own party are not helping me get it done. We said that back then. If you want to do that, you have to build consensus. And that's what I think even the independents want you to do. You want to build consensus, because what does that mean? It's not just the people on Capitol Hill, it's who they represent.
Is that what DeSantis would say? I have the ability, as I did in the state of Texas, to build consensus.
Or
it's
Florida.
not, what I say?
Texas. They built some consensus here, but not officially.
Sorry, Governor Abbott. No, but I have the ability, as I did in Florida, to build consensus to get these bills through.
Right.
I agree with a ton of what Donald Trump does. Trump believed it, but he couldn't get it through. I'll get it through.
I will build consensus
that
through
would separate
the people. And that I really think is going to be, if you use it, you can use it effectively, because what it tells people, quit saying the thing, I'm going to bring people together. No. What you want to do is build consensus.
But
That's what people want.
But you build consensus in Congress.
Yes.
You vote for me. You vote for the people that agree with me, that really want to get these things done, and together we can do it. I can't do it alone, but I want to do it because I did it in Florida.
And the reason you can do that with the people in Congress is because they're backed by the people, and that's consensus building too. Mm-hmm. So you want to build that kind of thought all along the way and convey it effectively.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. Well, I got through the show. And I'm saying that because I bit my tongue yesterday very bad. And when I got up a couple of hours before I got here, it's like, I don't know if I can do the show. And it's been fine.
Actually, what you said was, I don't
know.
Yeah.
So I heal quickly.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Actually, where did I see that or read that? Not too long ago. that the tissue on the tongue, heals very quickly.
Yeah, I put
and it's not a good environment for healing.
No, and I did,
especially the stuff you spew out of your mouth.
I did a few hits of mouthwash. I didn't swallow it though.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be able to survive the weekend. I was like, oh man,
yeah,
it's
back
boy
in the,
that hurt.
Yeah, back in the olden days, you would just take a swig of, whiskey. Doesn't help the tongue, but makes you forget about it.
Well, I'm going to have a good weekend. I think I'll go home and make, I don't know, maybe a Janet Yellen mushroom dish.
There you go.
Enjoy it because it'll be a lot
pasta and mushrooms.
A little pasta and mushrooms.
And a sunset.
It's a nice
what are you
sunset.
doing, Mr. McNamara? What are you doing out here? I'm looking at the sunset.
Wow, dude.
It's 12 noon.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood.